Hi everybody, Tom Matuska and Brett Wingfield here for the Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company Thursday afternoon live. And welcome Brett, I just love having you here showing these people all kinds of new and exciting techniques and products and that sort of thing. I got a comment on your attire. Because I wear the same old gray shirt week after week and we have such nice clothing. We have apparel till the cows come home. And yours is kind of athletic and baseball-y, and obviously I never made the team. So it's just, it caught my eye, and I think I got to go visit the wardrobe store because gray is not necessarily the new white anymore, I don't think.
They do have quite a selection downstairs.
And Caitlin's our camera lady today, and we're excited to have her with all kinds of new equipment all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And are you on?
I'm on.
And
hello, everybody.
Caitlin has her very own microphone today.
Oh, my goodness.
And Mandy was called away, so we're going to struggle through this, just the three of us, and I bet we can do it.
I bet we do it.
I noticed in this little sideshow that close-up camera to my right, that's not on, right?
It is
I'm
not.
Just seeing that
yes,
because
you're
I
not
got
seeing
a bald
that.
spot showing, so I'm going to need some Hyonis hair dye or something like that. I never knew I had that. That's kind of, I don't like looking at this. Did you see that?
Only because you turned to it.
I'm going to have no more haircuts from Vicky. They get a little too short. And then
Start combing over.
I got pink showing. All right, last week, if you joined us, we kind of showed you how to take a mannequin and adapt it to your habitat. And habitat, you never find the right piece of habitat, whether it's a log or rocks or whatever it happens to be. You just can't find that perfect piece, so you end up having to construct it. And we tried to show you a few different ways to try to put things together and make the habitat and the taxidermy work come together into one piece of art. And habitat, as you know, sells taxidermy work. I mean,
really
the mounts have to be nice, and you want your work looking as good as you can, as lifelike as you can, but you can really make, I always call it showstoppers, you can really make a showstopper, something that when people come into your showroom or they walk through a sports show and they do a double take because something looks so nice. And a lot of times it's habitat that brings that all together. And when we talk about habitat, we've been referring to, I like to call it elements. Wood's an element, branches, grass is an element, snow's an element, ice is an element. The more elements you incorporate into your taxidermy work, the more dust you also incorporate. No, but we're not worried about how the customer takes care of them. We just want it to look really show-stopping when they take it out the door. And but a lot of these things, do have to be kept clean, and they're a struggle to keep clean. The more snow and ice and water you put on something, the less eye-popping it's going to be 5 years down the road, probably.
Unless they've got a good glass case for it.
Yes, and that's another issue which we'll show you next week. But anyway, we have for years and years and years used real cedar driftwood, and we explained to you last week how bugs don't eat cedar. They don't like the smell of cedar, and anything cedar is a bug repellent. Anything oak and walnut and other cottonwood and all other kinds of branches and wood pieces is a bug attractant. So you want to make sure that you either treat your wood, and you can look back last week, we kind of described that for you with malathion. You either treat your wood so bugs and insects aren't going to get to it, or use cedar, or we've been using a lot of artificial parts, and mainly because I guess we do a lot of fish, and we can go down, we have thousands of pieces literally sometimes of, we call it driftwood, it's not driftwood, it's tumbled cedar from Texas, but we can go down there and we can hunt and hunt and hunt for that perfect piece and just can't find it. This one would be perfect if the branch came out at a different angle. This would be perfect, it was a little longer and not so short. This one would be perfect, a little wider. So it's really hard, and just because of that, we started, molding some attractive pieces, and we have a stellar crew of painters. We've got some girls that can make things look really natural. And this is an example. If this were a piece of real wood, this would weigh, I don't know, 25 pounds, and you put a big Lake Country Reproduction muskie on that, and you're going to have a 40-some pound piece on the wall. What we like about this is, what do you think that weighs?
Oh, can't be more than 3 or 4 pounds.
Yeah, so I was going to say 4. And it's super strong. It's made with 10-pound density foam. I showed you, and you can look back at a long time ago, Mandy and I had a bet, and if I could drive over them, I said they were so strong, and I did it, and I won a steak supper, which I don't think she's ever paid me for that. And I'm sure she's listening right now, too.
I bet she is.
My phone will be ringing. Oops, it'll be ringing because I didn't turn it off. Anyway, so this type of wood we've been using a whole lot of it, and we have a pretty darn nice selection of it, but that's what we showed you last week. We have a base for our bobcat, and that's this bobcat here. And Brett took that and turned it. It actually was meant for that bobcat going the other way. So this was down and that was up, and flipped it 180 degrees, and the feet did not quite conform exactly the way it would have on the other side. But for this bobcat, just a few small alterations and moving a couple rocks with a little saw, because it's styrofoam, it's very easy to cut, and you can add rocks, you can add all your habitat to that, and go ahead and show them where we left off. And we have a little rocks we have to resculpt, and we'll show you how easy this is to use the artificial habitat and make it look real and lightweight for the wall.
Yep. Just to add a little bit of difference, and you can do this with any product, but our thought was we wanted to turn this over, give it a different look, and we've chosen to, in order to do it, we had to make some accommodation for this foot. So there's a little bit of conflict there, so we had to cut that off. We added a rock, showed you that last week, and now I've got to cut this just a little bit closer, and to do it, I think I'm going to take the cat off. We'll get him out of the way. I'm going to take this little rock cluster off that we screwed in place last week. And that was very simply done that way. We had an accommodation for his foot. And then we'll just take him off and get him out of the way. And again, what I'm going to trim back is this rock. And because it's foam, we can pretty much do that very simply. You can see we've already made a couple little cuts to this. And I'm just going to take this one back here. Give him just a little bit more room. Sometimes we forget when we mount these animals, we set up the mannequin, and they look really nice, but by the time you get fur on them, the fur grows, so you have to have a little more space around.
We did that with a tar not long ago.
We sure did.
We mounted him, and once you put the hide on with all that hair, we had to completely reconstruct the base.
Just to give him enough room for that hair.
Now, tell me about that saw you're using. Is that new lip slot cutter?
It's a big lip slot cutter. That's our elephant lip slot cutter.
I see you using it a lot, and you seem to like that saw.
I really like it. I've used a saw like that for quite a while, and it's something that cuts a really fine little curve. So it's not removing a lot of material, but it's super sharp, super sharp. And really cuts this 10-pound foam nice. I'm just going to cut this little piece a little further here, like that. And now I've got just a little fix-it to do there. But this blade is nice and flexible. You can cut all kinds of things. We like to use it for cutting noses off. That works really well of mannequins. Anything you need to make a nice, clean, straight cut with.
Is that what they call kerf? Thin kerf?
I think, yeah.
It's really thin.
Yep.
Really thin.
Yep, very thin. So you're not removing a whole bunch of material when you when you take that off, if you were to use the other piece. I might take one more little chunk so I don't have a big flat spot there. I'm just going to cut part of the way through that. And then I'm going to come in here and just break it. I think this is heavy duty foam. Just to give it a little bit more character. Now, we've got to blend that in. Should have plenty of room for the cat now, but now we've got this exposed foam. So our thought was to show you guys how to make some alterations here, and we'll do that.
And you had done some up here too. What was up there?
Yep, just took a little space out. It was kind of getting in the way of the cat, and we did try. We wanted to minimize the imprint of the base underneath the animal. The customer had asked that we make a lighter base underneath so it showed the spots of the cat a little bit better. So we just thought we'd do something different, make him standing on the smaller branch rather than the bigger rock, and that's what we came up with. So I think I see a line here. We had actually talked about maybe even cutting some more of that rock away. But in order to do that, we have to have some degree of confidence. You spend whatever you do on these habitat bases, which are a whole bunch less than we would have time that it takes to build. How much do we have in a piece of plywood that goes on the back?
Sure, a lot anymore.
And then build all of the rock, blend all the seams, do all the paint. And we happen to have this one already in the shop, so it's nice that we can make some alterations. If you happen to have any pieces and parts laying around, don't think that they have to match perfect right out of the box. If you want to do some changes, we're just going to blend this, these little cuts, and I'll do that just with a little Bondo. Oh, did you think I was going to?
Nope, I wanted them to get a clear, unobstructed view of you mixing auto body putty.
Without.
No, I wasn't worried about.
Yeah. I was actually. So we're just going to take a dab of auto body putty. We're using a Bondo brand, but you can use any lightweight body filler. And I think one of the most important things, at least for me, and we've used this for years. You're the first one that I ever saw using white hardener. But do you have a little tube of white over there? We'll get a gray appearance out of the white hardener for fish heads. How long ago? But it really, really makes a difference if you were doing maybe some Utah desert scenes. You might want to use the red hardener that comes with, but with this we want to match to a gray, so we're just going to start with a gray base here. Mix that up for you.
Now you put a lot of hardener in there. How long do you think you have?
I kind of did, a little more than I had intended.
Because we only got an hour.
We've got work to do. We can't just sit here and do this, make them listen to us talk all day. No, I figure I've got 5 minutes, and I really don't have a whole bunch of contour and changes that I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to take this. It's thoroughly mixed now, and when you're using white hardener, just give it an extra swirl to make sure that
because you don't know how well it's mixed.
It doesn't give you the indication like a red or a blue would. So yeah, we don't know, and we want to make sure that we get good coverage. So I'm just gonna work some up onto this space. I think you guys can probably see that. You might not see that back cut, so I won't do that right now.
You know, we've used
we'll use
auto body putty in this application for years and years and years.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think that came from, we always used to make our own auto body rocks, and so it's just natural. You connect them with more body putty. I used to clean a little, and the one thing I would notice in 90% of them is together with plaster and burlap.
Oh yeah.
And maches and things like that. And typically they always crack in time. no matter what it is, or somebody runs something into it and a plaster gash shows, or
Yeah.
a chip or something.
Yeah.
The auto body parts connections are way stronger, and the damage never shows up, and you never get a natural crack where your piece starts coming apart.
Yeah. I think I've seen all kinds of recipes for fixing and repairing seams in rock, and some of Dale's Habitat rock, and the Quick Rock panels, and some of those. Everybody's got a little recipe, and you can do that too if you wanted to. Our rock mache would probably make a good patch as well, but we're going to do Bondo, and I've just got a simple chip brush and lacquer thinner. And how many rock bases do you think we built out of those old latex molds and Bondo seams? And they look great. They really, really do look great.
Yeah, before there was ever Quick Rock or rock panels that you could buy, we ordered big shale landscape rocks from the landscape company. And I think I told you before, you buy them by the pound, and it's pennies. It's pennies a pound.
Yeah.
Well, you don't realize that these rocks weigh a lot of pounds. And you get a 600-pound rock, which you thought, the landscaper said it only cost, 4 cents a pound. Well, pretty soon they add into several $100s for the rocks. And when Mark and Mandy were younger and in grade school, that was their summer job. They would make latex rubber molds of those big rocks, and we used them for every creature that we did coming out of the shop.
Brown bears and
sheep
and
goats.
sheep and goats. Yep. Tons and tons of those. So this is kicked because somebody put a lot of hardener in it, and which is actually pretty good. So it's at a stage right now where it's still a little bit rubbery. It will take some texture. You can still influence it a little bit, and that's kind of what I want. And now I've drug a few little texture lines in it, and now I'm gonna come back and dab over it with the brush and just soften some of those lines. And then after a little bit, this will set up, and you can paint it back, and it will, I think our textures should match pretty close. And if they don't, you can always bump this with a little bit of sandpaper or rasp and come back and give it another shot. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're after.
Keep talking, I got a wardrobe malfunction going on.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Come help me, Janet.
Janet Jackson. Okay.
So just like everything we do, color and texture, color and texture.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that last week too. Color and texture is the key, and I think we've got a pretty good little blend there. We've conquered the texture part of it, and we'll come back and take care of the color here after it has a little bit of time to set up. But that's one simple rock fix. Completely changes the look and character of this base, and now we can make a base that we had laying around adapt to a footprint of an animal that didn't necessarily fit it. So rather than make alterations to the mannequin, we made some alterations to the base.
Because a real rock you couldn't cut.
That's right, and it'd be a little heavy. It'd dull our really nice little Irwin saw.
Yes, it would.
It would dull that.
It would.
What else you got for him?
Well, that's one fix, and what we started last week, and unfortunately we don't really have an animal to go on this. It was kind of let's take this piece and put it onto this piece and see if we can make it blend. But last week we took this branch, this was just a V branch, held it up there, ran some screws in from the back, and got it at the angle we want. This could be used for, capercaillie. It could be used for, a couple pheasants. It could be used for a big muskie coming down after, some bait fish. There's no end to what this could be used for. It could be used for a wolverine, climbing up this.
Sure.
You may have to add some other elements here. But so what we did was just screwed this branch on in an effort to show you how easy it is to connect. So to shortcut this a little bit today, I had a pretty big gap between the branch that we screwed on and this larger piece. So I just took some saran wrap, or packaging wrap, and balled it up into a ball and packed it down in my crack so my auto body putty wouldn't flow all the way down, you know, to China. And then I did the same thing Brett just did over there, mixed up my auto body putty with the white hardener, packed it in there, started dragging some tool marks, and it doesn't matter. I see he's using a little red tool there. That's one of my favorites for a texture tool. You can use your favorite tool, you can use brushes, whatever you want to, and start, as it starts gelling, start texturing, and don't forget, once you feel it firming up, you probably have 20 seconds and it has to be textured. I didn't want my auto body putty real runny, and I can texture it a little bit better if it's firm, so I took regular molding plaster. Put a little bit of molding plaster into your auto body putty, and it makes a dough. And it doesn't affect the strength. It doesn't seem to affect the strength, not for habitat anyway. And I wouldn't use it on your fender, don't mix plaster in it. But it made it firmer and easier for me to texture. So I went all the way around this piece, so I ended up with the same thing you did there. And we're going to show you, I think, a couple different versions of painting. You can airbrush them, you can rattle can them, you can do Flexstone. People use a lot of Flexstone. Doesn't matter as long as this looks nice to you and this all flows together. So I'm just going to take a paper plate, and we're going to use oil paints. Now, oil paints, here I'm going to give you him back. This is just Winsor Newton oil paints, and my branches are basically kind of a dark gray, but they got a brown cast to them. So I'm going to take a little bit of black, very small amount of black, and I'm going to put it up on the rim of my paper plate. And I'm going to take a little bit of brown of, I think it's burnt umber, and I'm going to put it up on the rim of my paper plate next to the black here. And then I'm going to take a little lacquer thinner in my chip brush. We go through a lot of these brushes. They're, I don't know what they are now, probably $17 a piece, but we used to get them for 50 cents. I'm going to start with black, and I just dip my brush in black, and I'm going to make a slurry. I don't want this. I'd rather go over it 2 or 3 times in a very light, weak coat than make it Hershey, you know, or licorice type. Then I'm going to take just a little bit of brown. I'm going to mix that in there. More lacquer thinner. Now my lacquer thinner is the lacquer thinner Brett was using. I'm dipping it in there, and it's got auto body Bondo slurry in there, and that's just going to do nothing but add to my texture. And I'm just going to start by mopping it right on the... Now I can see as I'm doing it, I'm a little heavy on the brown, so I'm going to just touch that black a little bit and go a little heavier on the black. And any of you that have used oil paints know that oil paints take forever to dry. Oil paints, we used to paint our fish with oil paints, and it took as much as 3 to 4 days to dry. And any of those Picasso paintings and things like that, they were very slow drying works of art. But he didn't know you could put lacquer thinner in it, and this stuff dries fast. So if you're afraid of oil paints, if you're brushing it like we are here, try a little lacquer thinner in it. When that lacquer thinner evaporates, your oil also sets up pretty good.
All right, we've got Shannon Purdue, who says they're from Country Critters in Oklahoma, and they said, just received my first order from Matuskas. Want to give a shout out to the lady that answered the phone Monday morning. Outstanding service, was very kind and helpful, and they were shocked at how fast they got the order and how cheap the shipping was. So
Oh my goodness.
we are very happy that you had such a great experience.
I listen to some of our girls answer the phone, and I'll be sitting at my desk, and they're answering the phone next to me, and it's impressive. We have some of the nicest people working here. I can't tell you how nice they seem to be. I'm not sure if they all are, but they sure sound like it on the phone.
I think you're very right. Very, very right. Now you're blending from over the backside with the oil paint. Any other suggestions if they don't have oil paint around?
Yeah, paint. I always say it doesn't matter what tool you use, what paint you use, what mannequin you use, as long as the results come out as good or better than you expected. I'm just using oil paints because it's real easy. If I don't like this, I'm going to take a rag with lacquer thinner and I'm going to wipe it right off. But and I can do it over. You can go over and over and over. You're not going to hurt anything. And Createx paint, acrylics. You can use acrylics. You can use them. You can use it in an airbrush. I tend to not use an airbrush for this application because to me you'd have to get some really fine detail, I think, and turn your airbrush way down to get kind of natural results rather than spraying a big fog. But you could use, we use temper paints on all of our rocks.
Oh, we did.
And we did really good with those. And I'll just finish up here.
That's a nice blend. So you're doing this to blend the Bondo transition.
My fix, yeah.
But you could also do it to color the entire piece of wood if you felt like you wanted a different color wood too, couldn't you?
We do that all the time, yeah, we have. Now I just got a big old black hole in here. I'm getting too much paint, so I'm just gonna swab it out with lacquer thinner. Yeah, we do that all the time. We'll get a piece, even real wood, that, man, that would look nice if it had a little red cast to it, or if it had a little grayer cast. We do that all the time. And we also connect real wood like this. Mm-hmm. And so we're always painting something. And people aren't going to focus on this fix either. They're going to be focused on the fish. So if your fix, not that you don't want it nice, but if your repaired area is just not as nice as I hoped it was going to be, like I can see up in here, I got to do a little something, but you can add moss, you can add grasses, you can camouflage your fix to look much more natural.
And that's the nice thing about those additional elements that you were talking about, that this is just the start of the process.
Now I like a little browner. These are very gray logs, and I wouldn't mind having a little browner log, so I just mixed up some of that burnt umber, and I'm just gonna highlight a little bit of my log.
Sure.
And if you use a lot of lacquer thinner, it's not gonna overpower anything. Now you could do this with any of your paints, acrylics, tempers, whatever it happens to be. We even used to paint our rocks with Rit dye, remember that?
Yep, I sure do.
All right, we've got quite a few people who are tuning in. We've got Sam Casita, who's been a Taxidermist for 25 years, a self-starter. We've got Jonathan Maurer with Samson's Whitetail Mountain, and they say that they have nothing but great things to say about our product, staff, and support and speed of shipping. And then we've got Johnny Rico, who is going to be starting taxidermy classes in a couple days. And they've been watching our live streams just to get them excited to jump in. Can't wait. Love your videos. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. And it's fun. It's fun showing you stuff that we think looks kind of nice. And it's fun kind of hearing your questions, because a lot of the stuff that you question, we did too, before we ever did things.
Sometimes those questions cause us to figure something out too.
I know.
It's like, I haven't thought about that.
Okay, now let's add a little more, one more dimension to this. Could you run a drill and a couple screws for me?
I sure can.
And I'm going to hold. This is one of our rock clusters. Can I tell them? Mm-hmm. This is one of our giveaways for today too. These things are just awesome.
Yes, they are.
I went down and I said to one of the girls, we got live today and I need this rock cluster and I need it painted special. And she said, I'll paint it special, but she brought it up and I got paint on it. So I'm going to have to repaint it special. But this is that 10-pound foam. This is as hard as pine. It'll hold screws, it'll hold bolts. It's real strong. We'll screw it into place, but in addition, well, that looks kind of funny. In addition to screwing it into place, we'll also take a little auto body putty and we'll actually putty it in place. If I were to hold that, I had a mark here where I thought it looked kind of nice. Maybe. Let's see, we had this. One like that. Let me look. I've only got one mark. Has to be like that, doesn't it? We're going to go above it, weren't we?
I think so.
Okay, let's try that. Now, because this is foam, Brett can drive that screw right up into this rock and bury the head, and it'll be really easy for me to auto body putty over it.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I think I took a bad angle.
Yeah, I don't have an extension either.
I don't have it. Change that angle.
Ooh, that tightened up real good. Now I'll go ahead and stick one somewhere angled this way. Good? Now,
so.
look at, I could lift that whole mounting stand. No, I'm not gonna, but I could. The whole mounting stand with that rock. Now, you were planning on, we might erect it with the rocks. That probably, will that work anymore? That Bobcat?
Oh, I think we can probably show them there's some options. And
Hold him on just to see. Now, this wasn't meant for this, but as we were getting ready for the show today, Brett said, "God, I bet that would work for this."
I think there were some options.
Now, that could go in there, that could go down there. He could
Got
go
another
down level,
rock
and we've got,
Show 'em
we can extend our rock pile, you know.
something like that. All kinds of options. Let me swing this just a little bit for them to see. But you could take this driftwood rock combination and make your own base for one of your habitat pieces like that. So just by screwing these elements together, it doesn't hurt to have a few of them laying around if you need to add or subtract. You can even cut, like we did earlier, you can cut some of these elements off, but don't throw them away. If you cut off anything significant, throw them in a box, and who knows, you may be adding them to your next Bobcat mount or to another
Yes, Caitlin?
habitat.
We've got Craig Metz, who is wondering why not life-tone lacquers?
Life-tone lacquers would be fine.
Yeah. Do watch, Craig, if you do that. These have a fairly flat finish. Lacquers will start to shine if they build up too much, where oils typically won't, but water-based will go flat too, so.
Yeah, we didn't need to, I didn't mean to leave anybody out like the lacquer people. We have done lacquers too.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I think waters are a little more forgiving and the oils a little bit, but when something goes wrong, you're not stuck there, I guess. So now, from here, do you want to paint that? We were going to paint that. Maybe that's what we should do next.
We can show him, add a little paint. Get him up and out of the way again. Sorry, Mr. Bobcat. And I'm just going to do kind of the same thing that you did, and I'll use some Createx. I've got some of our Createx colors here. I've got a little bit of Wicked Black, which is a little bit heavier. I've got a little Illustration Burnt Umber and some Burnt Sienna. I'm going to start pretty gray. I like the natural Bondo color that we've got started there. And I'm going to use just a little drop of alcohol to thin mine, to thin the lacquer, or to thin the water.
He likes alcohol.
He does not. It will thin it just like the lacquer thinner did for yours. And I'm just going to do a little wash over this area here. And it is very much just a blend and try a little this and try a little that.
That blended good right off the bat.
I think it's going to give us a fairly decent start. Another nice technique too when you're doing some of these blends is to put it on and then take it off. Just wipe off the material that's on the high spots so it kind of settles down into the low. That's another little trick that will give you a nice look. We could go through here and paint this whole thing. I'd want a bigger brush to do that.
No mistakes, just what?
Happy little trees, accidents.
Accidents.
Some happy little accidents here or there. And like Tom said, you're only adding the first layer of color here. There's going to be a lot of other color, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the rock itself. It could be moss. It could be some branches or grasses, other colors that kind of move through this composition. I think we've got a pretty good start here, but to me it needs a little bit of brown, so I might pick up some of this.
In any of these pieces,
Sienna.
I think they're available in a natural wash, and the natural wash is, we don't have one, do we? It's
We do.
Yeah, grab that. It's a really pretty already, kind of a maybe limestoney type color. This is natural wash, and I don't think I ever put a fish on a piece of driftwood without adding, a cluster of these rocks.
Yeah.
We have a whole box of them that we just, add to anywhere. And but you can paint these yourself. They're real easy for the do-it-yourselfers that want to paint them. Otherwise, they come already painted, and the girls have their own little paint recipe that they go by to make them what they want. But if you don't like what you get, or if you want to get the ones that are just natural washed, don't be afraid to paint them. They're easy to paint.
Absolutely.
And if you're using acrylics, take them over the sink and rinse them off and do them again. You can do them over and over.
They can complement their habitat bases with color by adding some adding some strategic colors. We may not have exactly the color you're looking for, but don't forget to, you can.
And we don't have a, like that one has the bobcat. For this, we don't really have a specific creature in mind that's going to go on here. It can be a mammal, it could be a big fish, it could be, you know, a group of birds, but just kind of design your habitat around their natural environment, you know. If you were doing 3 or 4 ptarmigans sitting here, you might want a snow scene, you know, with some little berries or, you know, little tundra berries or something. If you had a fish, you might want some underwater aquatics, and you can have a little crawdad hiding in here, and you can just customize these. People love that. People will gravitate to the most creative taxidermist.
It's funny because we just finished with a class of students, and of those students, I would say there were at least 6 of 10 of them whose, upon coming to class, one of their highest priorities was habitat.
Habitat, yes.
They asked about habitat 10 times a day, and when can we do habitat? When can we build this base and that base? And I think that's just because they realize how much that habitat adds to their mounts, and they wanted to do that. We had some people walk out of here with some pretty impressive
nice
habitats.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I've got a decent blend started here on this base, and we can come back and add some more details and so forth later on as it dries. But
yes, we're working on this. I'm thinking of this would be a good one for Brad Grabber, who would have some sea ducks flying by and a big old snow scene around here that looks so cold that you don't even want it in your house. You're going to have to turn the heat up. But, you know, there's just so many different ways. That base, which is made specifically for this bobcat, would be a great base for big ducks. You know,
oh, absolutely.
Or
yeah.
multiple ducks, or a school of fish.
Yeah.
That's one of ours. I don't know, Caitlin, can you see the smallmouth behind Brett? That's one of our driftwood combinations with a couple little rock clusters on it. And you can put fish on there. You can put birds flying past. You can, you know.
That one comes with the rocks.
Yes, yep, we do have some with rocks already prefabbed in there. And other things you can add, let me show you some other things.
You know what, you're getting those out. Another thing too, when you guys are doing your blending and repairs, it's just kind of came to me. We always make sure that you're not just painting the repair, you're also painting the area around the repair as well. So once you get it somewhat blended, go ahead and start moving your paint area outside of that, outside of the repair. And don't be afraid to add a few of your colors far away from the repair so that everything starts to tie together. Sorry, that just something.
Depending on what kind of environment this is going to be, a lot of times we use moss. We use tons and tons of moss on especially some of our big bases. And we have used real dried sheet moss forever, and it always seems to dry out. We have colored it and we have dyed it. Works better, but it's an extra step. We a lot of times use artificial moss. Now this is kind of looks pretty artificial and fake, but if you were to take it, and we like to peel the back off of it and thin it out, and by peeling the back off, it's just in a sheet, and it's got a kind of a cottony layer of something synthetic on the back. But you can spread this now and make it not so dense and not so artificial looking, and you can put it anywhere in here. Now I would hot glue that on. I'm not going to put it on yet because I don't know what's going to go on this. But this would work good for an underwater scene. It would work good for a woodland scene. So I just take this moss, stretch it out. I was going through one of Brett's storage units today, and I found we used to get moss on a roll.
Yeah.
And it had wire, copper wire that held it together. And it was the most interesting stuff, but it was real sparse with copper wires in there, and it actually looked pretty good, but like all good things, it goes away. Okay, now you can put as much moss on something that you want, depending on, like, again, your creature, match this to, you know, the environment. Another thing I like to do is we have putter moss. Comes in a lot of different colors. It's basically flocking. We got browns and reds and oranges and several different colored greens. And the way you use this, we use it a lot on water edge scenes or even underwater scenes. And you just take something like Mod Podge, and I'm going to put it, we'll put it on the top of this rock. I don't want to take away all the nice color from the rock, but we'll put some moss on here. And then I'm going to shake it on. Just like Lowry's.
That's a little heavy for my Lowry's. I like to go light on that.
And it doesn't give a brilliant color. I got it's kind of a dirty moss, and I think it looks a little more natural for what I'm doing here. I'm just covering up all my glue that I put on. Now again, if this looks terrible and I really don't like it, I'm going to push it in here for a second. If I really don't like it, I could wash it off. Now when that glue dries, that Mod Podge will dry clear underneath, and I've got a nice, you know, green cast like moss growing on there. Mm-hmm. Another thing we have is our cover grass, which is very popular. It comes like this. This is what you get when you get cover grass, and
one bundle.
It's a big bundle too. And I like to take it and where'd my little ones I tied together? Could you grab me those little guys? I like to take this and pull some out, and I'll take scissors and cut. This is going to be a curly one, and I'll cut some. Don't get too big a bundle. You don't want to plant this on your base. And then we just take thread, tie thread around here, wrap, pull it between the strands, snip it off, and you're going to end up with pieces like this. And we talked about the other day, your grass doesn't grow in, you know, big bushes like this, and it doesn't grow one here, one here, one here, one here. There's little clusters. So now we just take a drill bit. I'm not going to do it now, but we take a drill bit and we dip that in a little Elmer's glue, and I've got different colors. The African people, habitat people, go crazy over this cover grass, but you can make 2 or 3, make them all stand up like you want. A couple over here. And we'd probably do that on that bobcat base too, I'm assuming.
Yep, I think so. I think once we get some finish work done on him and get those other rocks put in place, we'll do exactly that.
And sometime your customer's going to come in and say, boy, my base is just not looking so good anymore, you know, what can you do for me? What you're going to do is you're going to rip off all this moss, you're going to rip out the grass, and in half hour, you're going to have put all new stuff on and give the rocks a little bit of gloss and a little satin to the wood, and it's going to look like a brand new base.
That's always fun because it sounds devastating. It sounds terrible. Like there's so much that has to be done, but boy, when you get it done, it really brings them back to life.
And this, I could never do habitat without this. This is one of my favorite
that's
things,
good
and
stuff.
this is nothing more than wire covered in something, covered in moss, artificial moss.
Yep.
And you can bend it to any configuration you want. If we have that little bass over there, he's going to get a sprig of this. Might be just be this little piece down here, just something to add a little color and interest. We even take this and we'll run another wire up alongside of it and fasten it to this and have a little shiner minnow. You know, one of the
we've done
little
that, yeah.
Don Frank,
Yeah.
what's he call them,
Little
bait fish?
fish, yeah.
And then your bait fish is out on here and he's not quite lined up with the fish, bend the whole branch over there. Works great.
That's really nice. I sure like that stuff. And the people downstairs, Cindy knows that when we start getting low on the moss branch, she comes upstairs to see how many we're going to need so we can make sure we don't run out, because that's a staple for us up here.
I'm just draping this stuff on here. I'm not fastening anything. To fasten it, I would snip it off where I want it, and sometimes I'll take a T-pin and I'll bend the head over, like take the big head off and bend the head over, and I will just stick it right through there all the way into that heavy foam. Or we'll sometimes take a small Phillips screwdriver or screw head and screw it right through there and bury the head right in there, cover it with a little bit of moss. But this is another one of our favorite things.
That's good stuff.
Now, I don't know what this is going to be good for, but
I think
anything would look
yeah,
good on
I think
this.
we have 100 projects that are going to be fighting for that one.
So just have fun, but every project that we show you, I always say, keep track of your time, keep track of your money that you've got in. These things, I don't know, you might get on that big one, you might get upwards of $25 or more. I wouldn't doubt these little guys are $11 to $13, $14. And I'm guessing it's like the Price is Right, because I don't know.
I think you're pretty accurate.
Am I
The
close?
small
You're real good.
are like 11, the medium might be 16, and then the large is like 26.
This is like the best $16 you'll ever spend, because if you had to carve a rock and shape it and coat it with some kind of texture and paint it, I guarantee you're going to have $50 in it.
Yep.
But we can just screw this right on anywhere we want. So anyway, you've got this involved. You've got moss involved. You've got, I don't know what that's another probably $12, $15 item, the little vine. And plus, you've got this branch and you got this big piece. So you can pretty easily wrap up $60 to $80 to $100 in something like that. But it's custom made. You can create it right to fit your animal. Now, we like to do these before the animal's even mounted. We like to have the mannequin so that we can position his feet. We know how his toes are going to go. He looks natural. He's balanced on the base. We spend a lot of time with the yellow foam mannequin. You don't have to have all your mosses on. You don't have to have your vine. You don't have to have that. But you would want to have your foot rests and kind of the balance.
Yeah. Getting those locations makes things so much easier. It helps so much. That's one of the behind the scenes tips that I think you've always done exceptionally well. Bend the leg rod straight, make sure that your habitat is squared up, your animal is squared up, your eyes are exactly where they need to be long before they ever get the fun stuff. But a good base underneath.
And most
is
of
so
you know
important.
this, when you have multiple animals, maybe you have a flushing grouse and you have a bobcat going after him. make eye contact with your mannequins before you ever mount the animals.
Yeah.
Don't have your grouse flushing right here and your bobcat looking off in the kitchen. You know, make sure that your bobcat is focused on what he's doing. Make sure your grouse has the fear in his eyes, and do that all before you ever mount the animal.
Yeah, make sure that those pieces are mounted together and not, so they don't look like they were just added at the end. We see that fairly common, and much nicer if they can tie together.
No questions? Not much for questions today.
Not much for questions today.
That's
We
all
do have Frank Fomer with Frank's Taxidermy, who says he wished he could show us the scenery he's done from what he's learned from you guys using all of our products. Well,
Oh, wow.
you can go ahead and send us
Yeah,
some
send 'em.
pictures on
Absolutely.
Facebook or email, and we would love to see them.
The girls bring back all the time pictures that you people send in, and we like seeing all that, all the mounts and things like that. And
There's some super creative people out there, things that we never thought of. You put a piece of driftwood one way or a rock face, and all of a sudden they got it turned upside down and done something completely different. It's really fun to see.
But other than that, that's all
should we
we've
give away
got.
a rock?
Yeah, we've got our giveaway from last week's live, and we are giving away the artificial rock cluster.
And how do they get it?
You win by sharing this week's video and liking it, and that will go for next week's giveaway. So the winner of this week goes to Travis Buller, and he won by liking and sharing last week's live video.
Travis, you're going to
wow.
like these.
Yeah,
You're
that's
going to
a
like
good
them
idea.
so much. Don't be afraid. I mean, you can put this on a nice piece of walnut sitting on the table with a duck sitting on top
Yep.
of it. You can, Marty Wiley just won state champion
Oh, did he?
fish with his perch, and it was one of our little rock bases, I
Really?
think, with the perch coming down after a leech, if I'm not mistaken. It's beautiful, beautiful,
I
beautiful.
haven't seen it. Congratulations, Marty.
And you can use it on fish, you could use it on birds, you can use it on a little mammal. There's just no end to this stuff. and the best part is, every single day we're creating new habitat all the time.
We really do.
More fun stuff, more choices. We used to only have one driftwood that we used on our fish,
Yeah.
and we turn it all different directions. Now we got, I don't know, might have 25 or
Oh,
more.
boy, we do.
But we have all different kinds. So we're coming up with new stuff every day for you. And
Yes.
what else? Were you going to tell them something else?
Speaking of new items,
Ears?
yeah, we have a new product, our ear edge carding, that is now available online. And we've got you guys want to
And an
explain how that works?
Example of that is, I'm going to take one off. I'll take this one off to show you. And it's paper clipped on, but it's pre-cut ear shapes. And no matter how good you get your ear split to the edge, that's the first important thing. Second thing is make sure your ears don't drop. And then what we like to do is put this on our edges, and we've used this for years. We use it for fish fin carding, our fish carding system. But these are all pre-cut, and they come in, I think, a set of maybe 4.
So yes, a set will do a pair of ears, and we've got them for bobcat, mule deer, mountain lion, and whitetails.
So you get the paper clips, you get these pre-cut, and all you're going to do is get your ears groomed exactly the way you want them. One on the front, one on the back. Put a paper clip to align them, hold them together. Make sure your hair is all looking nice. And this one we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paper clips, and that's going to hold that ear edge aligned. Look how nice this ear is. This has been on since Today,
Oh, yeah, yep.
look how nice this ear is. You're not going to find a prettier ear anywhere than that. And first, it took you having to align it onto the ear liner. That's the most important thing. But if you can hold that there while it dries so that ear does not get misaligned from that edge, you're going to have an ear like this. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ear.
And I think, Kate, there might even be a mule deer. If not ready, it will be soon.
Yep.
I think there's a mule
Yeah,
deer
that's
coming
what she
too.
said. And use these over and over and over. Just get a little Tupperware box, pull them off like this. They're going to be a set of paper clips. These are ribbed paper clips. We find that sometimes if you bend them, they'll grip a little bit better in certain areas. But you get two pieces like this, one for the front, one for the back.
And that particular one is sized for a medium whitetail ear. I wouldn't be surprised if we've got a couple of sizes coming too. But this medium whitetail will fit any of the deer that were mounted with your medium whitetail ear liners.
Paper clip one on and just go all the way around the ear.
Just an added measure to keep that nice, crisp, sharp edge.
People comment a lot of times on our ears. We spend a lot of time on ears, and ears can't be rushed. And this is just one thing that helps you not have to babysit them so much. But that's how easy they are to put on. Use them over and over and over. You should never need more. I mean, you'll want more, but you're not gonna, they don't wear out.
Right.
All the way around the whole
We've got some
ear.
of the same ones we've had for years cut out in our toolboxes.
We've used different things over the past. We've used linoleum. Linoleum works. We've used all different kind of products. But this ear fin carding system it's perforated so that air dries your ear much faster. Paper clip, paper clip, paper clip. When you're ready to do finish work, pull them off all in one piece, put them in a box for the next deer you mount, and groom your ear.
Yep. Makes a really nice crisp ear edge.
What else you got for new products?
All right. Well, we are always getting new products in. And we do have a collection on the homepage of our website that has all of our new 2021 products. And they're all listed as they come. So make sure to check that out. And also make sure to take advantage of our Facebook Live sale that starts at 5 o'clock tonight, and it goes until Friday, tomorrow night at midnight. And that is 15% off all of the products we used in this live. And that includes like our rock paint, the Mod Podge, the moss, the hot glue gun, just a ton of fun stuff. So make sure to take advantage of that. And the code for that is FBOOK15. And again, if you go to our homepage on our supply website, we have a collection right there with all of our Facebook Live products, so it'll be super easy for you to find. So, yeah.
Very fun.
Thanks for joining us. Good job, Caitlin.
Very good.
All right, and we will